intersection of law and everyday life. We strive to cover it all, help you get your business right. At the corner of legal insight and understanding, we hope to keep your knowledge ever expanding. Welcome to Law Street with GHR. We've got law education accessible to all. Oh, welcome to Law Street with GHR. We're informing the community, so come and get involved.
Welcome to another episode of Law Street, at the corner of legal insight and understanding. My name is Gabrielle Grant Gilpin Hudson, and I'm joined today by our partner, Lisa Rooms.
Hello.
We're partners in the law firm Grant, Henry and Rooms. So Lisa, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about non-profit, no problem, and that's the formation and registration of a charity in Jamaica.
Okay. So charities, foundations, if you have one, this is what you want to know.
Yes, and if you're looking to set up one, this is what you want to know.
Okay, so where do we start?
So, for the purpose of this, we're going to start at the very beginning. You have an idea of a charity that you want to do or a nonprofit that you want to do. And the first step is, what is the vehicle or what is the structure that you're going to start with? And usually in Jamaica, what this structure or vehicle looks like is a company limited by guarantee.
Oh.
So generally what people understand companies to be are companies where they're shareholders limited by shares. Mm-hmm. But for the purpose of a non-profit or a charity, there are no shareholders. So it will be a company limited by guarantee. And essentially what this means is that the people who have decided to come together to form this company have agreed to guarantee the liability of this charity or this foundation up to a set amount of money.
I see. Got you. Well, that makes sense. And I think, the stigma around it is that persons may think, oh, this is a charity, it's a charitable initiative, so I don't need to have a structure, I don't need to incorporate. But you're basically saying that could not be further from the case.
No, you should definitely incorporate a company. And as I said, the structure is a limited liability company. So the liability of the members of the company will be limited up to whatever is the amount that they've said that they're going to guarantee that liability. Okay. Now, a company limited by guarantee is essentially formed in the same way as a company limited by shares, meaning the documentation is pretty much the same. It's going to be a little different, obviously, because there are no shares and you'd have to set it out a little bit differently. But essentially, it's the same 3 sets of documents, which is your business registration form 1, your BRF1, your articles of incorporation form 1B, mm-hmm. and then your beneficial ownership form B as well. So that's your BOR B. So just to kind of walk you through these 3 documents, the business registration form will look at your directors, name of your company, set out things like that. Your address, set out that bit of information. And again, you can use this form to register for all the necessary taxes that you will need to be registered for. And you can use this to apply for, again, your TCC, your tax compliance certificate, which you will need if you're going to set up a bank account.
Got you.
Now, the articles of incorporation is the particular part of creating this company that's going to be so important.
Right.
Because in these articles, you're going to set out who your members are. Again, you're going to set out, the directors, etc. That's in the company's office form. Mm-hmm. But attached to the company's office form is usually 2 other sets of schedules.
Okay.
And the first schedule, which is usually attached, is your objects and powers. Now, your objects and powers are what you are incorporating this company to do.
I see.
So, for example, in this schedule, you'll set out if your company is being incorporated for the relief of poverty, or you're setting up this company to provide funding for educational purposes. So, in this schedule, you'll be very clear about what is the reason I'm setting up this company.
Gotcha.
And therefore, before you even think about putting pen to paper, make sure that you've thought these things through. Why am I setting up this company? What is the point of it?
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll have to set that out.
Fair enough.
And in the second schedule, you'll have your sort of general articles of incorporation, general management of the company. So this will deal with things like how you hold meetings, what you're doing with the company seal, and in particular now, which is quite interesting, with our new charities regulations, there are a couple of things that you do have to bear in mind that need to be in that schedule, including how you're going to deal with immovable property, what is the financial year of your company, things like that, which are really important. Like, you know, it's just important to get an attorney to help you particularly to draft these schedules.
Definitely.
Because once you've incorporated your company, so you've gone through those set of documents, and the other set of documents is the beneficial ownership return form, which is now a form that has to be signed, which basically says who the beneficial owners of the company are. But once you've gone through that process and the company's office says, okay, this looks good, and you incorporate the company, there is a part two.
A part two. So what I'm hearing you say is, first things first, even though it's a charity, it's still usually recommended to be a company.
Right.
And then that company needs to have purpose, it needs to have structure, it needs to have all the things that companies generally would need to have.
Right.
And then you move into
Part
actually making
two.
it a charity.
Yes.
All right.
Because what happens next is, if you're incorporating a charity, usually you're incorporating a charity because you want some of the benefits that come with being a charity.
Like tax benefits.
Like tax benefits, some exemptions from, general consumption tax. And, if people give to your charity, they can write those off as charitable donations. So you want the status of a charity.
Got you.
But in order to get the status of the charity, it doesn't stop on incorporation. You will then need to make an application to the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies, the DCFS, which is the entity in Jamaica which registers and deals with charities.
And this is under the Charities Act.
And this is under the Charities Act, and then the Charities Regulations, which came in, probably about 2 years ago, which really did bolster the requirements and the regulation of charities.
I see. Makes sense.
Yes, because the main purpose of all of this is that if you're operating a charity, you are operating a charity for the purpose of an actual charitable cause and a charitable end, and not just because you want to have a company that's going to be benefiting from these tax breaks.
Correct.
So your objects and powers for operating this charity must be overwhelmingly charitable.
Got you.
And that is going to be a very important point coming up a bit later.
Okay.
So when you've incorporated this company, then you can make an application to the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. Along with your charities application, you're going to need to submit some documentation. So you'll need to submit, if the company has been incorporated for more than a year, you'll need to submit your financials, some audited financials from the past year. If you're doing it as soon as you incorporate, you won't need to put this in. You will have to give the charities you'll have to give the charities office, which is the DCFS, you'll have to give them a copy of your articles of incorporation certified by the company's office, your certificate of incorporation certified by the company's office. You'll have to give them a detailed plan of your charitable activities, and this is new with the charities, the latest charities regulations. You actually have to tell them what you are planning to do. So you have to set out what your charitable objectives are, how you plan to achieve those objectives, and what it's going to cost, or what you propose it's going to cost. Now, this is because people were using charities to do all sorts of things, and now they've gotten more strict because the purpose of a charity is not to defeat the tax man. It is to actually achieve the purpose of incorporating the charity. So in addition to that, some of the documentation that you'll have to submit to DCFS is a plan or an operations and administration plan. So you have to explain to them all the policies that will govern your charity.
Right.
And this is also a new requirement. So this administrative management plan is going to set out things like your financial policy. How do you accept donations? How do you use donations? Things like risk management. How do you manage the risk associated with being a charity? Things like governance. Who are your board of directors? How do your board of directors meet, etc.? And the policies, while the regulations don't tell you exactly what policies you need to have in place, an attorney will be able to give you some guidance on what sort of policies you need to have in place. And the truth of the matter is, you have to present these policies with the application, so you can't figure it out later. It's something that they have to be sure that you have thought about and that you understand.
So you have to do it as a holistic package. You have to plan this thing out properly. You have to come good and have it all on paper.
Right.
And it's highly recommended to do that before you even bother to submit it.
Yeah, so even before you bother to before you bother to submit anything to the company's office, or you decide to submit anything to DCFS, you really should have had all of this thought out. And it's really important because an attorney at law will help you to figure out exactly what it is that you're supposed to be looking at. And then what is a big thing is actually fit and proper forms. So you will have to submit with your application a fit and proper form for all the officers of the company. And what this fit and proper form is looking at is, are these people good people for this charity? So have they been a part of any other charitable organizations that have failed? Are they people who have been convicted of any offenses? So this form is a form which can be found on the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Society website, which is a fit and proper form. And that will need to be completed by all the officers and sworn before a JP or an attorney at law.
Okay, got you.
So in addition to that, you submit photographs of all of the directors. Okay. So just to give you a rundown again of the list, it is the application form, it is the fit and proper form, it is the certified copies of your company's documents, it is the detailed plan of your activities, it is the financials if they're necessary, and a copy of your administrative and management policies. And of course,
the application
fee. It used to be free, but now with the entrance of the regulations about 2 years ago, it is no longer free, but it is a miserly 5,000 Jamaican dollars.
Okay, that's not
so bad. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. Yeah.
All right. So now talk to us about the juicy part. You went, you passed the first hurdle, setting up your company. The second hurdle of applying to the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. The third hurdle now, the drum roll.
Drum roll.
The juicy tax break.
All right. So once you've set up the company and you've made the application to DCFS, DCFS is going to pass your application on to the Tax Administration of Jamaica.
I see.
And the reason why the Tax Administration of Jamaica is involved is because tax is a very serious thing. The payment of tax is a very serious thing. And if you're trying to get some tax breaks and incentives, the tax office wants to know why, what you're doing, and why you deserve this.
Mm-hmm. Who are you?
Who are you? So the DCFS is going to pass on your application and it's going to get reviewed by the Tax Administration. And the Tax Administration is going to check it to ensure that the objects and purposes of this charity are overwhelmingly charitable.
Overwhelmingly charitable.
So they want to know that there is going to be a benefit to somebody somewhere for you setting up this company, and that this is not some sham or scheme to try and avoid GCT, to try and avoid import taxes, to try and avoid tax. They want to know. And let me tell you, if the Tax Administration says that your objects and powers are not overwhelmingly charitable, you're gonna start over. You're gonna start over. So when Tax Administration looks at it, if they like what they see, they'll issue a no objection letter. If they don't like what they see, they're gonna send your documents back to the DCFS and tell the DCFS all the things that they would like you to change in your documentation. DCFS is going to tell you all the things that the Tax Administration has a problem with, and this is going to require in most cases for you to go back and amend your company's office documents, because these are the documents that govern the company.
Oh boy.
So if Tax Administration says this is not cutting it, you are going to have to go back, amend your articles with the company's office to get it to a point where it's cutting it, and start over the process.
So you need a good lawyer then?
So you need a good lawyer. You need a good lawyer to help you sort out from the very beginning, get into the mind of the Tax Administration and see what they would like, and just try to, as much as possible, make sure that it's hitting all of those requirements under the charities regulations, under exemptions that the Tax Administration will be giving you. So you want to make sure that you have a good attorney at law so that you don't have to start over from the beginning. And usually what happens is they give you about 30 days to either amend your documents or tell the Tax Administration why they're wrong. And going the route of telling the Tax Administration that they're wrong is doable, but it usually ends up in a case where you have to amend the articles. And then once you amend your articles, you have to pay money to company's office to get the amendment done. Then you have to pay money to the company's office again to get copies. Then you have to submit the amended articles with the DCFS, which they're then going to pass on to the TAJ. If you don't do this within a certain time, the entire process starts over, and you will have to submit all your documents back to DCFS.
So what you're saying is if you slip, you slide.
If you slip, you slide. So you have to make sure that you have a very good attorney at law who's helping you through this particular process, because it is not an easy process, and it is not an easy process because we don't want a bunch of people just registering charities that are not legit, that are not for a legitimate charitable purpose. It's hard for a reason. And you know what? It's a good reason.
True.
It's a good reason, because you want to make sure that people who are saying that their charities
and
are
accepting
donations are actually legitimate people who are doing things to help people. So it's hard for a reason, And you know what? It just kind of
Get
is
the
what
right
it is.
advice.
So definitely get the right advice.
Okay.
Now, if tax administration, you get over that hurdle as well, and you get their non-objection letter, DCFS will then issue your certificates to show that you are now a registered charitable organization. And with that comes wonderful little tax breaks. So tax breaks, confetti. So there are some tax breaks in relation to GCT, which is general consumption tax. There are tax breaks for import duties. So if you're importing something for the charity, if it's like an art charity and you're importing some easels and some paints, you get a good little bit of money off of that.
Medical supplies?
Medical supplies if it's a medical charity, if it's an educational charity and you're donating books, for example, and you need to import some of those books, or you need to buy those books locally, you get a nice little benefit off of that, and people then get a nice little benefit of donating to your charity, because that will get deducted written off of their income tax as a charitable donation to a registered charity. And make sure that when you're doing it, again, you're donating to a charity that is registered under the Charities Act, because a lot of people say this is a charitable venture,
and it's not really
it's not something that you will later be able to write off because they're not a registered charity.
Yeah, and I would just say to be discerning in what you're donating to.
Absolutely.
Because some of these things are not legit. They're not registered. They're not regulated. So that's why you really want to look for registered and regulated charities to donate.
Absolutely. And if you want to find out if a charity is registered, you can always check with the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. They will indicate whether this is a actual registered charity, and you can feel a little bit more comfortable donating in that situation.
Wow. Okay. Well, who knew doing good would be so complicated? But
it's good.
It's good. It's a good thing that doing good is complicated, because we want good people doing the good.
Right. So there's a level of checks and balances, which is important to just make sure that you don't have people who are just being shady.
Yeah, agree. So Lise, to wrap it up, put a quick little bow on it. What parting thoughts would you like to leave us with today?
So I want to I will leave you with one parting thought today.
Okay.
Which is that the charities application is not easy, and you should not try to do it alone.
No.
There are a lot of...
It's not a DIY situation.
No, this is not a DIY situation. This is not a Bob the Builder situation or a Bobette the Builder situation. This is a get proper legal advice, so that from the ground floor, when you're incorporating the company, that documentation is sound, that when you get to the level of the DCFS, your policies are sound, your detailed plan is sound. They'll even help you with the fit and proper if you need to. These are things that a good attorney will actually help you with, and get you to avoid the next hurdle, which is the tax administration, because you would have done so good from the very beginning that nobody's going to have any issues with your documentation. So my closing thought: don't do this alone. Get an attorney.
Okay. And we're not saying that to just be biased, guys.
No, we're not saying it to be biased. It's
for real.
We've walked through the file, so we know how to out it. So allow us to out it for you.
Exactly. So thank you for that, Lisa, and thank you to you, our audience, for joining us with another episode of Law Street. And we can't wait to see you until next time.
Bye.
If you liked this video, visit our website at jhrlegal.com, where you'll find this and full-length articles on a variety of legal matters. If you like this video, hit subscribe, and click that notification bell for more content. The information in this video is for general discussion purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. If you would like legal advice, we would recommend that you book a consultation with one of our attorneys.